Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday. This morning I had a conversation with Thomas Lukaszuk. He is the one behind the Forever Canadian petition here in Alberta, and I wanted to have a conversation with him about how it's going, about where you can sign the petition, and about some of the questions that you guys have been asking me in my comments. So without further ado, here is our interview. Thank you so much for watching.
Morning.
Hi, Thomas. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain. Well, I could,
Good.
but you're not going to listen.
Yeah. You're busy trying to keep the country together.
Oh, I tell you, I don't know if that sounds like I'm Captain Canada or something, but it's a hell of a job, I tell you. If I knew how busy it will be, I would sort of think twice. I would still do it, but at least I would
Right.
rethink it. And I sort
Okay.
of just jumped into it, and here we are. But we're lucky. We have literally thousands of volunteers, right? So that sort of makes life a little easier. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Just so you know, I'm already recording.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so I guess I want to get into, like, first of all, how many volunteers do you guys have signed up so far?
So we have about 5,000 volunteers
Okay.
and about 2,500 signature collectors, people who actually have credentials from Elections Alberta and can take your signature. So we're
Okay.
at around 7,500, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay. And how many signatures have you got so far?
We don't know.
You don't know.
We don't know because we have petitions all over the province. These 2,500 signature collectors are working every day collecting signatures, and now we have this phenomena. I call them sort of micro campaign, pop-up campaigns. They're setting up everywhere in squares, in parks, on bridges. And every time they set up, there's a lineup of people who want to sign the petition. So once we start calling in those petitions back, we will have a rough idea how many we have. But at this point, I have no idea. I couldn't even guess.
Okay.
But good
Um,
number, a good number.
yeah, I mean, I guess with, 7,500 people volunteering, even if they all sign up 20 people, that's a significant number. So,
Well, I'll
um,
give you an example. In Calgary, they set up for about 2.5 hours, two people, and they got about 1,800 signatures.
wow.
There was a continuous lineup, right? So as long as we let people know where these volunteers will be a day in advance, uh, people drive from far and wide. If you don't mind, I'll give you, just a couple of anecdotes. When we set up in Edmonton a few days ago, a family with children actually drove from Fort McMurray to Edmonton. That's a good 5-hour drive to sign the petition. And then they
Yeah.
drove back to Fort McMurray. About a day or 2 days ago, there was a gentleman with a very unhappy wife. He just came out of surgery and he still had, bandages and the hospital band around his wrist. And instead of going home, he insisted that they stop and they sign the petition. So people feel compelled to sign this petition. Our challenge is not to get Albertans to sign it, but to get that petition to them and make it as convenient as possible for them to sign it.
Right. So I know, through my social media, the number one question I have from a lot of people is the more northern Alberta where they can go to sign. Is there a website where they can go and they can say, like, hey, there's people setting up in my area or closer to me?
Yes,
Where can
there
they
is.
find that information?
Yeah, so the best thing to do actually to find out where the nearest petition is or to sign up and volunteer and actually most importantly become a signature collector is go onto our website forever-canadian.ca. So forever-canadian.ca. And you will
Okay.
find a lot of information there. Plus, we're also trying to reach out through social media. So, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, LinkedIn. We're on Instagram and TikTok. So we try to reach as far and wide as we possibly can. But the website is the hub.
Okay. And I know I saw some posts that there's going to be some permanent locations potentially in the bigger cities. Are those a go yet, or what is happening with those?
Yes, they already started. So in Edmonton, for example, we have the Legion. It's called Kingsway Legion, but oddly enough, it's not in Kingsway. It's in East Edmonton. We have the paint shop in central Edmonton. We're getting in Calgary a couple of places opening up right away. One of them is an art gallery. We have one in Fort Saskatchewan that is just opening up. So we are looking for permanent location just to make it easier for people to sign this petition. So you don't have to chase these events, but you can just show up, whenever you have time. So another call out is if you're a coffee shop and you could use a little bit more traffic or any business, give us a shout. Let us know, and we will either staff it with our own volunteers, or you can get credentials in as a owner or staff member of your business. And we definitely will generate quite a bit of traffic into your business. But those permanent locations are popping up across the province as well. And naturally in Edmonton and Calgary, it was easier to organize it first because there was the critical mass of people and volunteers. But today we're in Hinton, we're in Lac La Biche, we're in Fort Saskatchewan, we're in Chestermere, we're in Okotoks. Medicine Hat, Lethbridge. I know that Fort McMurray is organizing, Grand Prairie is organizing. So we will have the province blanketed.
Okay. And another question that I've been getting from a lot of people is, why was the Forever Canadian petition allowed to go through without any kind of court oversight versus the one proposed by the Alberta Prosperity Project? Can you explain that a little bit for people?
Well, the simplistic explanation is because we follow the rules, right? Once you follow the rules, you don't end up in court. That's sort of it. Sort of is the rule of life. We read the rules carefully. We read the Supreme Court of Canada decisions and the reference cases very carefully. We read the Alberta legislation that governs citizen initiative petitions, and we made sure that our question is not unconstitutional, that it doesn't infringe on anybody else's rights. And that's how we formulated our question, and that's how we filed it. Unfortunately, the other group decided to do it somewhat differently, where now judge has very serious concerns that their question, if it was to be allowed to go ahead, would definitely infringe on First Nations treaty rights. Your and my right of mobility, because if we lived in a separate country, we couldn't then travel freely to Canada. Our employment mobility, because if we work, for a company that maybe has offices across this place, or if you're a tradesperson, now you can work anywhere in Canada with your ticket. That perhaps would not be the case. So the judge has serious reservations, and they will have to go through a process proving that Alberta becoming an independent country or part of the United States would not infringe on anybody else's rights. So that's one thing. Second reason is Alberta legislation clearly says that there can only be one petition on one issue. You can't have competing petitions, and we simply filed first. So our petition was accepted, so we're good to go, and they are not.
Right. Okay. And I guess one of my final questions is when is the time up? Like, when can you collect signatures too? Because a lot of people don't know that exact date.
Yeah. So we have to file all those signatures. We will have to pull up with a big truck with petitions on October 28th. So technically we can collect till October 28th, but we also have to hand them in on October 28th. So we'll probably stop collecting a couple of days prior to make sure that we collect all those petitions, and we have to deliver them all at once so that we can deliver them to Elections Alberta. Then they will be tabulated by Elections Alberta. So, it seems like we have a lot of time, but it isn't a lot of time when you have to collect almost 300,000 signatures, and we're aiming at a higher number. So that is why we're really appealing to everybody to go onto Alberta, onto forever-canadian.ca and help us out. And the biggest help we need, although we are after signatures, but to get signatures, we need signature collectors. So we need more signature collectors to sign up. And, we need a few dollars as well. This campaign is rather expensive. So if anybody could, buy us a cup of coffee, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess before we reach that date, are you guys going to try and do like an estimate of how many signatures you think you might have? Or how is that? Or are you just kind of going to go hope for the best and submit them all and see what happens?
No, Canada's too important to leave it to chance. So we will be incrementally collecting those petitions from all of our volunteers across the province to see how we're tracking, and also for the security of those petitions. We want to have them in our custody. So we will have a rough idea probably in a few weeks where we're at. And that will also give us an indication in which parts of the province we need to work a little bit harder. We haven't decided yet whether we will be releasing any interim numbers or not. But when you have a 90-day campaign, it's pedal to the metal. You try to get as many as you can, as fast as you can. But we will be continuously collecting them as well.
Okay. That's fantastic. Yeah, no, I think that covers a lot of it. So I'm sure you're probably going to collect signatures at some point today.
Well, that's
Um,
right. That's right. I try to sort of stop by every place. I really find the stories that people share with us when they're signing those petitions very compelling. I never expected this, but there's a lot of crying going on when people are signing this petition. They wish they didn't have to do this, but are compelled to do this because they know how important it is, and they share stories why Canada is so important to them. This exercise sort of gives us an opportunity to reflect what a precious country we have, and how lucky we are to be Canadian, compared to anybody else. And Canada rarely ever asks anything of us, and now what she needs is your signature on a piece of paper.
do we know, have any of the UCP MLAs signed it?
I don't know because they may have signed it somewhere, but none of them have ever announced that they signed one. It's my understanding that our premier was in a town hall meeting and she was asked several times by the public whether she will or will not. And she had a very political answer to it, which didn't leave the audience with any idea whether she supports or not supports this petition.
Shouldn't be that political, but
No, and that's the beauty of this. This is totally not political. We on our sort of steering committee, we have a former member of parliament, Mr. Ian McClellan, who actually was one of the three people who started the Reform Party. That's pretty far right. Then we have a former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, Anne McClellan, who is a Liberal. Then we have people like Gil McGowan and Brian Mason and NDP supporters. Yeah, we have Alberta Party supporters. We have Green Party supporters. It straddles everything because, we may disagree on politics, and that's the beauty of Canada. We actually get to disagree on politics. But when important issues come up, like us playing hockey against Americans or a long time ago against Soviets or signing a petition for Canada, we all pull together. All divisions sort of disappear and we focus on what's important.
thank you so much for listening to this special episode of the Cole.notcole podcast. You can subscribe to me over on Substack, YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. This is completely supported by you, and the best way to support me is to become a paid subscriber over on my Substack. Thank you, and we'll see you back here soon.